Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Patty from 100% Fed Up and Joe Hoft from the Gateway Pundit, who is filling in for his twin brother, Jim Hoft. And today we have a very special guest, Avila. And before we get started, I just wanted to thank Mike Lindell of MyPillow for generously sponsoring our podcast. Mike has been sponsoring our podcast almost since we started. For those of you that don't know, Mike has been shut down by several big box retailers who refuse to sell his product over his investigative work into election fraud. And so Mike has chosen to take his business directly to conservatives like us. And thank you for supporting Mike, and thank you for supporting us when you purchase his products using the 100 GP code. So Victor has been with us before, but just for those of you who don't know Victor, he's a retired supervisory special agent with ICE. And Victor is also an author of a book, Agent Under Fire. And his book is available on Amazon. It's the true story. And we'll have Victor go into that a little bit about his book and what his book is about so that he can explain it better than I can. And we've also got some videos, some incredible videos that Victor is going to share with us that he took down at the southern border. So I should say our open southern border under the Biden regime. So I'm going to let Victor kind of start out by telling us when you went to the border and what you saw down there. And then when you're ready, if you could just let us know, we'll roll the first video so we can show what you saw down there.
Yes, thank you, Patty and Joe. I'm glad to be with you again. And I wrote this book about the ambush that Special Agent Jaime Zapata and I suffered at the hands of the Zeta Cartel back in 2011. And Agent Zapata tragically lost his life in the line of duty. I survived by the grace of God after taking 3 bullets. And so I wrote this book detailing the story about that, but also the second part of the book is all about border security and what we're continuing to talk about and what we are seeing on a daily basis. For some reason, the media has kind of stopped talking about it here in the last couple of weeks. I don't understand it because it hasn't gone away. As a matter of fact, I think it's getting worse by the day. And yes, I went myself. I just said, I have to go see what's going on at this border at this time, because even though I might be an expert on a lot of this border security issues and human trafficking, I wanted to see exactly what our border agents were facing and what they're going through. So I first went to the southern border, kind of the ground zero area, McAllen, Texas, Mission, Texas area, and went and explored all that, where a lot of people have seen the videos of the migrants crossing over the Rio Grande River. Now they've kind of shifted to the Del Rio, Texas area, where we've seen Venezuelans coming in by the hundreds. Over 178,000 of them entered into our country last month. And so a few weeks ago, just a couple of weeks ago, I said, you know what, I want to go and explore the El Paso, Texas border region. That's where I'm originally from. And so I made contacts. I went over there, and we're going to start seeing some video that I shared with you about I wanted to, first of all, compare the different regions and how different they are from the southern border of Texas versus the West Texas desert area where there is no barrier, there is no wall, there is almost no water on the river. I stood on the Rio Grande River, and the border is wide open for these drug cartels, these criminal organizations to continue to pour the methamphetamine, the fentanyl, the poison into our country, and the illegal alien activity, the smuggling. Now, that's the big difference here. Down in the southern border, you see the family units, you see the migrants come up, and they're even assisted by the state police or DPS or even Border Patrol agents themselves to come in and turn themselves in. We give them a path to either a detention facility, or sometimes, like I witnessed, sometimes they just went from the border, the river, straight to downtown McAllen, Texas, to board an airplane or board a bus without any identification, which is crazy to have witnessed that in this day and age after what we suffered in 9/11. But in fact, they are boarding planes, and they are boarding these airplanes and buses without any identification. I witnessed that myself. But the West Texas portion of it is very different. There is no turning themselves into anyone. They are, as a matter of fact, eluding and trying to not be captured by Border Patrol. And these individuals I witnessed jumping our brand new Trump 30-foot wall with makeshift ladders that they built. And I've had video about that. We'll show that as well. And I'll run you through those videos. But these individuals are the ones that do not want to be detected for many reasons. One, they're cartel members themselves. They are gang members. They have criminal histories. A lot of them are prior deports. These are individuals that have been in our country, committed a crime, have served federal or state crime, have been deported for serious crimes. I'm talking about from burglaries, thefts, DUIs, murder, rapes, you name it, have done their time, get deported, and guess what? They're coming right back. These are what we call aggravated felons. And these are the type of individuals that Border Patrol is encountering, the ones that they do capture in this West Texas region. Hudspeth County being the county right adjacent to El Paso County. These are huge counties. And I also went into the New Mexico area because that New Mexico, El Paso, Texas border area is so hot right now that the cartels on the other side, it's a very mountainous region. And there's areas where Border Patrol will not go to a certain area above the mountain because they might get shot at by the cartel on the other side. And this is the Border Patrol telling me there that like, do not cross this area or you get shot at because they don't know who you are. And so I went out there and wanted to see that. And sure enough, it's the Wild West out there. Jumping the fence, helicopters, Border Patrol on horseback, on ATVs, tracking these individuals down. And unfortunately, they're not grabbing all of them. There's a lot of gotaways. Why? Because most of our border agents have been sent down, detailed to the other region that I just talked about to process these family units and these individuals. And the cartels know that. And so they're exploiting every area of our open, porous border to take advantage to bring in all the illegal activity. There's a lot more to say here. For example, I'll give you another one that I learned. And this is the part that I want to tell people. As a border agent that I worked my career, I know a lot about it, but I always learn a lot just by going there. And that's why I know that our elected officials will never do that. Because this is another thing I learned. They are using, the cartels are using illegal aliens for several things. Now they're using them as mules for the drugs. You know, they used to be like the coyotes and the human smugglers would smuggle. These are the humans you smuggle, and the drug cartels did their thing. Now the cartels have taken over everything, and now they say, okay, you want to be smuggled into the U.S., you're going to pay your $4,000 fee, but on top of that, you're going to smuggle 200 pounds of methamphetamine. No questions asked. You have to do it. You're going to take these bags of pills with you to smuggle them as well. They also, what they're doing, I learned this, is they're using illegal aliens on the U.S. side that have already made it to pick up and transport the fresh new illegal aliens that have been smuggled to take them to stash houses. And so the ones that are caught, that are apprehended by our border agents, well, they're all illegal. There really is no smuggler there per se. You know, usually the driver would be the guide or be the smuggler. In this case, it just happens to be another illegal alien, and there's no prosecution of anyone. And the AUSA, the Assistant U.S. Attorney, is declining prosecution of these cases. And I'm thinking, why isn't anybody going to jail here? They're violating our laws. They're violating our immigration laws. There's a lot of other violations of law down at the border that are completely being ignored by this administration, and no one's being prosecuted. There was one specific case where the alien that they used has been in this country illegally for 20 years, and Border Patrol refers to them as domicile aliens. It's not my term. This is what they call them, domicile aliens. They've been here for a long time. This individual was used to transport illegal aliens on the U.S. side and take them to stash houses. Border Patrol was able to apprehend them, arrest them, but the U.S. Attorney declined prosecution on this domicile alien and even released them on his own recognizances. Not even a bond, not even a notice to appear. I mean, this is complete lawlessness, declined prosecution, and this is not the signal that I want our government to send to the rest of the world, where these are all continue to be invitations to come over and say, listen, nothing's going to happen to you. In fact, you get caught. There are no consequences if you violate our federal law. And this is what I witnessed just in El Paso, Texas, just a week and a half ago.
Victor, why do you think that they're not prosecuting these people? Is it they don't want the stories to get out about the criminals that they're catching on the border, so they're just kind of letting them go? It doesn't make any sense. It
makes no sense. And the prosecution has always been, and I'll say this, and even in my career has always been a challenge to get the U.S. Attorney to jump on board to pick up the case. Even when I had a case of 18 aliens in the back of a pickup truck under plywood, and I had the driver, I had a confession, I had two material witnesses confessing that, in fact, this was the driver and the guide. I still had to convince the U.S. Attorney to take this case to prosecute it. But the problem now is not even trying to convince them. They're just saying no. And I don't know the reason. I don't know if that's coming from the Biden administration from Washington. I don't know what the signal is and what instruction they have, but it's not the right instruction to not prosecute. If you would start detecting, detaining, and prosecuting people at the border, that signal would be like a wildfire down to the rest of the world. And it would send a good signal to say, listen, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to go into the U.S. because I don't want to go into a federal prison, even if it's for 6 months or a year. But that's not the case. And it is wide open. The cartels are the ones that are taking full advantage of this lawlessness down at our border.
Yeah, speaking of wide open, if we could just show the video of you on the Rio Grande, it doesn't look like it's much of a river, but let's take a look at the video. Hopefully we can get our friend Jez to set that video up for us.
So I'm going to show you how easy it is, if you wanted to, go into Mexico. I'm standing right now on the Rio Grande River, right here. I'm on the U.S.-Mexico border right now, ladies and gentlemen. There's no Border Patrol agents in sight, but we know that the cartels and the illegal activity is right behind me. They drive SUVs through here full of drugs. They sent the illegal aliens with meth, methamphetamines, fentanyl, pills, you name it. This is the open borders that the Biden administration refuses to acknowledge. I am standing on the river. What you're seeing right now is the river, the Rio Grande River.
Yep, that's in Hudspeth County, Texas, just east of El Paso County. And you know, I saw it in my career where they would use SUVs and they would get stuck in the mud sometimes, and they would offload the drugs. The big difference now, and there's a huge difference now, and I want to make sure people understand this. We've always had drug trafficking, we've always had illegal alien activity, yes, but the difference now is that they're allowed to come in even if they're detected. Back then, if you encounter Border Patrol, first of all, we had more Border Patrol agents because we didn't have 178,000 people coming in at once. And so we had Border Patrol agents to be able to cover more territory. And so when they did capture these individuals, they were prosecuted, they were processed, they were deported. Now they're caught, and if they're just illegal, they're going to be released into our country. That's the catch and release process that is going on. That's the big difference right now is that, well, they were intercepted, they were apprehended, but it doesn't make any difference. They're letting them into the country. And if you saw the statistic from last month, the interior enforcement of ICE is at an all-time low. There was 3,000 deportations last month. That is nothing. 3,000 deportations by ICE, enforcement removal operations. That means that the ICE ERO planes are grounded. People that are supposed to be flown back to Brazil, China, the rest of the world, ordered by a judge to be deported from our country, removed, are not being removed. But yet, they're being released from the ICE detention facilities. Get that point straight. They're still coming in, and the facilities are overflowing. And so what do? They're releasing them to the communities, into our communities in the United States, convicted felons of many, many crimes into our facilities. And this is unbelievable. This is a matter of public safety. It's a matter of national security. Guess where these individuals end up going? They end up going at the same community where they were caught. They go back to their same migrant community, terrorize them, commit crimes against U.S. citizens, and here we go again. It's a cycle because then you want to jump into the sanctuary city policy. Here we go. Here's a cycle and the revolving door. I talk about this in my book, and that's why the sanctuary city policy is so important to get these sanctuary states and cities defunded from the federal government, because all they're doing is aiding and abetting this behavior. And we're releasing the criminal, just like New York is doing with the no bail type of situation, where they arrest the individual and within 24 hours, NYPD is arresting them again because he just went and just got out. There was no bond, there was no money. He didn't put up collateral. They just let it's a PR bond, personal reconnaissance bond, a signature, and that's it. And then the next time they get arrested for rape or a more serious charge. This is what's happening with illegal aliens. We have enough crime in the United States of our U.S. citizens to deal with, believe me, that now we have to deal with the illegal alien activity as well.
I just had a.
No, I was just going to share or ask Victor one thing here. So you mentioned not really sure who's behind all this on the U.S. side. I think what you're mentioning though is the law enforcement seems to be the same, like you alluded to, with these Black Lives Matter people or whomever who are let go by the U.S., let go by these DAs that are Soros related. So it just, Patty, it's another instance of our law enforcement, our Department of Justice failing, because we had evidence of crimes as well during the election, and they just turned around and walked away. And so that's our Justice Department today. And now you've got another example. I've heard that it said that the cartels own the border right now.
Well,
would you agree with that or no?
Oh, the cartels don't only own the border on Mexico side. They own the country of Mexico right now. They control Mexico. Right now it's a very unique situation in Mexico with the cartels. They are now influencing the elections that are happening in July. There's elections in July in Mexico. And the cartels have now are terrorizing these towns where they want their person and their governor, their senator, their congressman in these districts all around Mexico. The cartels are putting them there, and they're terrorizing these towns. In Tijuana last month, they went and killed 10 bodies, chopped them up, and distributed heads and body parts all over town. Sending a message to the politician, the other side of the politicians. It used to be where the politicians in Mexico still had the control over some of the cartels. And that's no longer the case. It's the cartels that control all of that in Mexico. And forget the border. They own the border. They own the police. They own that. We have activity from the cartels in the border on the U.S. side as well in Texas.
Exactly. So what do they own the U.S. politicians as well in the South?
Well, I don't know about, I wouldn't go as far as owning, but it definitely has something to do with there, because you mentioned the Justice Department, Joe, and you're right on with what's going on here. There seems to be no impact or decision making from either side. I'm talking either Republican or Democrat. No one seems to be doing anything about it here, and it's a matter of national security. Look at the people that are coming in. It's not just the Mexicans and Central American. We have people from special interest countries from Yemen, Somalia, Bangladesh, you name it. They're coming in through Mexico because they know how vulnerable the border is right now. They're taking advantage of coming in as well. And so I think there is, the question is why? Why would the Biden administration just allow everybody in? And people would say, well, they want the votes and the future Democrat votes. Maybe that's still a factor, but I think it's something even more sinister than that. I think these individuals, the majority of them are at the 17 age mark, between 17 and 20 years old. They're not, I know we're going to talk about the children, and there are children coming in, but the majority of them are young, well-bodied males that I think there's going to be a clash as far as you mentioned BLM and Antifa. I think that's what they're going to use them for.
Mm. Wow, that's shocking. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the children. I mean, during Trump's presidency, the media and the Democrats were up in arms about the children in Trump's cages that were really Obama's cages. We don't hear much about the children. I spoke with a border agent the other day who told me about 2,000 kids are coming across the border every day, which is just an incredible figure. And many of these kids are not with their parents. They're being used as pawns or tickets to get people across the border that couldn't get across the border otherwise, or to get them entry into the United States once they get across the border. And you and I had a conversation the other day. I want you to kind of relay that conversation about what the drug cartels are doing now with the children.
It is, it's absolutely correct. So several things that have shifted just in the last couple of months with the kids. One is the kids that have been encountered, the unaccompanied children that were at these facilities that you saw all over the news, that overcrowdedness and all that. Those were Border Patrol facilities. Those were, in any other day, in any other decade where a person would be detected by Border Patrol, you would be taken to the Border Patrol station. These, in fact, became Border Patrol stations because of the sheer number of individuals. So they built the huge Ghana facility and all these other facilities to accommodate them. This is a place where only they would spend a minimal amount of time to be processed, and they were overcrowded, and you had all these issues. And then you see the head of the Secretary of Homeland Security last week stand there saying, "Oh, look, that they're almost empty. We've gotten them out." Well, it's not that they've gotten them out. All they've done is transferred them from one building to another, and most of them under HHS, Health and Human Services, which they don't have the resources or the facilities to take care of 20,000 plus kids in our custody right now. And here's the issue. The sponsors that are asking for these kids are not being vetted. We have these kids that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years that can't tell us, where the parents are. They might have come across with a phone number written on their forearm, written on their stomach, or they came across with a bracelet, and attempts were made to contact someone in the U.S. and to no avail. We didn't find anybody there. The parents might still be in their home country. We don't know where they're at. And so now they're starting to release these individuals, these young kids, to quote unquote family members or next of kin, or I don't know if they're friends of friends in Chicago and Maryland and New Jersey, all over Michigan, you name it, everywhere. And no one is knocking on that door to see if, in fact, it is a physical address. Nobody's vetting that information. And so that all just leads into more possibilities of child trafficking and recycling of these children. That's what's happening there. The cartels.
I was going to say, you had mentioned that the cartels are not asking anymore for the kids.
That's right. So I was about to say that. So now the people are coming in with the children, and the cartels are saying, "I'll take the kid here." And so I have a lot of issues here with the parents, and I'm going to give you a great example of one that just has been in the news this past week. But they take the child because the cartel is going to gain access with their people. They're going to send their own family unit. It's not a family unit. It's their own criminal element, people. They're going to use that child to gain access into the country, and they're going to smuggle the parent, and they'll tell the parent, we'll reunite you sometime in the future here on the other side, and we'll smuggle you. You can't turn yourself in, because if you're an adult single female or male, you're not going to be treated the same way. And you might be repatriated right back at the border. They might send you back. And so that's why those individuals have to be smuggled and not detected by Border Patrol in order to gain access to the country. And so sometimes they do, and sometimes they do not make contact with them. But at this point, you've already been separated from your child. And that's what's going on. Now, there was a case here that is just, I can't even stand to look at this lady on the news. She's been on Univision and Telemundo all week. She and her husband abandoned their 5 little girls. And I don't know if you guys have seen this in the news. They literally abandoned their 5 little girls from 18 months old. I think the oldest one is 4 or 5. And they were crying as they left the kids in the desert for the Border Patrol to hopefully rescue them. This is what even parents are doing, which I, as a parent, would never understand what condition you would have to be in to do that. They're not starving, okay? They're poor. They come from broken countries. We understand that. We're humanitarians. We're compassionate people. But I cannot be compassionate about a person willing to just abandon their child in the desert. Well, the Border Patrol did not find them. Luckily, it was a rancher that found these young little girls, took them in. But here's the case. Here's the problem now. This mom is in Mexico, and now she wants to gain access to be brought to the United States. My response is, let's give them back, their children, back to Mexico. They have put themselves, a lot of the times in these situations, they come from bad situations at home. They're poor, and all these issues that they have in Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, and I understand. But they've put themselves in even worse conditions by coming into Mexico and dealing with the cartels, rape, and separation of their child voluntarily sometimes by the own parents. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But this is the problem that I have, is there's no accountability from our government. We have laws here too. And if you did that and you endangered your child that way in the U.S., you'd be arrested. You have CPS investigating all over you. They'd be all over you. And you would be held accountable. But if you're an illegal alien, for some reason you're not. And they get a pass. And we can't allow no consequences to continue to happen.
Right. I mean, you're absolutely correct. If I'm a mother too, and I can't even imagine, first of all, abandoning my children. And I really can't imagine that the Biden administration is okay with this. I mean, they know what's happening down on the border. They know these kids are being used. They know they're being trafficked. They know they're being sexually abused. They know they're being used to help the drug cartels to bring drug members over here. They're aware of everything that's happening. They're aware of the horrible conditions that these kids are living in down there on the border. Yet they seem to look the other way, because it's more important to them that they leave Trump's borders wide open that he was trying to secure. It's just, to me, it's just incredible as a mother to see what's happening down there on the border with these children. The fact that our dishonest mainstream media has no interest in this case, or no interest in these kids that are being used by drug traffickers and by these coyotes just to bring people over here. It's incredible to me. It really is incredible to me. And I want to show, before we get too far into this, I do want to show the video, Victor, of the passageway from Mexico to. We've seen the river. Now I think we need to, if Jez can cue up the other video that we have of the makeshift bridge that we have coming from Mexico to the U.S. That's just incredible.
So here we are. This is from the other area that we're at in the Rio Grande. This is the river right here. But we got a makeshift dam here. But guess what we got, ladies and gentlemen? We've got an international bridge. A makeshift international bridge. Non-official, obviously. But guess what? They get dropped off. The illegals get dropped off right there. I'm walking on the bridge. That's the Mexican side. I'm on the boundary about, I would say about right here, the boundary between U.S. and Mexico. That's Mexico right there. They come in, the loads get dropped off right there, and they just run across right where I'm standing. You see it right here very clearly. And they walk across into our country undetected. Not a border agent in sight. This is evening, approximately 8:30 o'clock at night. Nothing out here, ladies and gentlemen. This is open borders, America.
That's in Hudspeth County. The video is very self-explanatory. That area you saw is on that landing area is where the vehicles come off. They drop them off, and they run across. And you have armed cartel members on the other side. And sometimes they don't even have to worry because there's no border agents there. A little further down from that area that I was at, there's a I don't know if I send you pictures of this, but it's where the wall ends. There is a wall, the new wall, and then of course they end at the wall there, the construction. And there's these huge, beautiful lights that are supposed to be on, but Biden turned them off. There's these incredible spotlights that shine on the river and on Mexico that would really facilitate and help the border agents see. As you can imagine, it's pitch dark out there. The border agents, there's a lot of brush. They have no idea if someone's pointing a gun at them from the other side or any of that. And so these lights really help them. And I was talking to the agent right there, standing with them, saying, "What's going on?" He's like, they turned off the lights when the construction of the wall ended. They turned off the lights. And so you see, the wall is a part of a mechanism of security at the border. It's not a standalone wall that does the trick. The wall is part of an additional manpower of sensors, of fiber optic technology, of drones, of lighting, of many other things. In conjunction, you put it all together and it makes a more secure border. But you start taking all those off and you don't have any border agents, you turn off the lights, you don't have the fiber optics, you don't have the drones. Well, the wall by itself is going to be less effective, of course. And so I wanted to show that as well. And it was kind of disheartening to see that. And I said, why aren't the lights on, right? At least to help you guys out here to see, because you cannot see anything out there at night. And so, we came across one lonely border patrol agent out there patrolling miles and miles on his own. And it's just impossible to patrol.
It's so disheartening. I mean, while our border agents are changing diapers back in the holding facilities of these children that are being used as pawns in Biden's new America, these border agents are at risk. I mean, without having any lights on the border, any means to see who's on the other side of the border, I mean, how are they safe? It's incredible.
It's incredible. It's unsafe. And I think we have another, I don't know if you're going to show the other video, the one with the ladders, and it was kind of dark, but I don't know if you had that video that I sent you, but that was a pretty good one. That's on the New Mexico side, where at one point the helicopter is out there looking for the individuals that jumped the wall. But it's a Wild West out there. It's free range. They're coming at them from all different angles. They're using the railroad cars now to distract the border agents. Some illegal aliens are jumping on the train. Some have been killed. Oh, by the way, you never see this reported on the news, but there's a lot of deaths related to the wall. And I actually didn't know how many until I was talking to the agents, and a lot of injuries. So a 30-foot wall is a very tall wall, right? And they're able to climb it on the Mexican side with these makeshift, it's weird to explain them. There's pictures of them. And they hook them on to the wall and they climb them up. And they're so excited to jump the wall that they kind of almost just jump it, and then they fall and break their neck and die. Or they break their leg, or they break their hip, or they break their arm. And then all of a sudden now the Border Patrol has to rescue them, take them into our U.S. hospitals, treat them. And so we go into this whole healthcare system issue that happens. But there's a lot of issues with the wall, and it does slow them down. Border Patrol is able to respond to get a lot of them. But right now is that the Border Patrol doesn't have the personnel to respond because, like you said, Patty, they're all down there changing diapers. They're all down there transporting the family units that at least if we had all of the units down like in El Paso, Arizona, where there is no barrier and actually had the agents working border security, we would, but that's not the case. And we have Texas DPS, which has done a terrific job in stepping up and kind of becoming border agents themselves. They're trying to protect, Texas sovereignty here. And a lot of these individuals that are coming in smuggled that are not turning themselves in have criminal history. So at least they have open warrants for so many violations that have been around the country that at least the police officers, the Texas state police officers can take them into custody for that. And the ones that do have criminal histories, they turn them over to Border Patrol. And so they're assisting in any which way they can. But again, it's not enough. It's not enough because of the sheer numbers that are coming in at once. And it's worse like that in Arizona and even California.
Unbelievable. Joe, did you have any more questions that you wanted to ask of Victor?
Yeah, I think, Victor, we could probably talk for hours. I'm really impressed with your story and with those videos especially. Maybe a couple questions. One, I've seen some videotape from some others that show that these individuals that cross the border then are just somehow moved directly to, it appears to be like a Catholic Charities outfit, which then moves them, I don't know where. In many cases, it was women. Many cases, the one video I saw was all pregnant women.
That's right.
Are we, and there's then, like you mentioned about this earlier too, are we just the world's largest human smuggling operation, being the U.S. government, because our Justice Department isn't doing much at all? And so what does that, so first of all, kind of maybe let us know about those, but then also what can we do or what can you do? I mean, it seems so disheartening because you work so hard and then these people get brought into justice and no justice is served. Our justice is ignored. And
you're right on, Joe. You're right on.
What can we do? Yeah.
So first, what you mentioned, the NGOs, the Catholic Charities, there's a big issue because there's a lot of money flowing down from our government to, it's supposed to go to Central America. And President Biden said, well, I'm going to give it to the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, so they could, they need the money to help. But what they're doing is first of all, they're taking the money and they're exploiting these migrants even more so. I think they're aiding and abetting the smuggling. That's what I think they are. They're not helping and stopping. I'll tell you that. They're not here to. They're not even an inch of helping secure our border. They're aiding and abetting on how to help the migrants get in. As a matter of fact, when they walked, the ones that I saw personally, 400 plus individuals, men, women, and children, from the river in McAllen, Texas, straight to the bus station, straight to that Catholic Charities, where they got issued toiletries, clothing, meals, and then they left with these yellow envelopes that had, the rumor is, I can't verify this, but they had cash in there, they had money enough to buy an airplane ticket or a bus ticket. And then I saw them in the airport board these airplanes, and I saw them on the other side of TSA. And I kid around a little bit about it. I talked about with a border agent at the airport. I said, "What the heck is going on here? How did they get through TSA? I couldn't get through TSA without an identification. Why are you standing here? Well, all of us in this line have we have an ID and we have our boarding pass. What about all the illegal aliens that are right there that I'm looking at? Well, they didn't come in through the regular checkpoint. They came in through the back, and they allowed to board our airplanes. Think about that. It is upside down and backwards. And so, yes, there is a connection with these NGOs. Not all NGOs are bad. There are some that want to do good, and there's a lot of issues with these migrants. A lot of issues, health issues. They need a lot of attention. That the burden has fallen on us, and I talked about this, Patty, with you before. All of a sudden, the burden is on our communities, on our schools, on our healthcare system, on our criminal justice system. Why isn't the burden placed on their governments from their countries where they're citizens from? Why is it all of a sudden our responsibility to have to all of a sudden take care of all these individuals? It's not because we don't want them, because we're bad people, because we're racist, because were inhumane. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that the United States is a sovereign country and we have laws and we need to step up and protect it because this administration is not wanting to do that. I want the Border Patrol agents to start and enforce them. What would happen if the Border Patrol agents would just start enforcing the law right now and say you can't come in? Because they swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. And so I've been talking to border agents and I've been talking to border chiefs and say, well, it doesn't matter who the president is. You have taken an oath to defend and protect the Constitution and our homeland. And so what happens if you say you don't come in? What would happen? I would love to see how the Biden administration would respond to that, because Border Patrol is a big, powerful organization. They have a strong union. I want them to come together and say, listen, it doesn't matter what you tell us anymore. We're going to secure the border and we're not going to allow people in. And what would happen? Well, I would like to see who would budge there, because I think we're at that point already. We have to do something. We cannot sustain this for the next 3.5 years.
When you talk about the Border Patrol union, what's the morale like down there now that Biden is the alleged president and Trump is no longer president? And from what I remember seeing in the news and watching in news reports, the Border Patrol couldn't have been happier to have a president who really was serious about securing our border and taking care of the border agents and giving them the proper tools that they needed to stop the flow of illegal aliens into our country.
The morale is on the floor, Patty. It is bad. And then I don't want people to confuse morale with the border agents being unhappy about doing their job. There's two different things. They want to do their jobs. They love doing their jobs, but they're not being allowed to do the scope of their duties as outlined in their description of duties. They're not allowed to do that. And they told me, listen, Victor, we don't know how to take care of kids and transport and be medical assistants. And this is not what we went to the academy for. We went to go protect the homeland, detect. Their main focus is interdiction. They interdict, they stop, and they investigate, and if they need to follow up with DEA for drugs or ICE, HSI for human smuggling cases, that's what they did. That's what they do. And they're not doing any of that right now, none whatsoever. And that's what the morale is so low, because they're so frustrated. And you're absolutely right. They feel they have absolutely no backup from this government, coming from a president who was right behind them. And they felt that, that backup, as we say in law enforcement, it went from one moment to the next. And so the morale does a lot of things. Agents calling sick, they don't want to go to work because, they feel less safe. How are they going to back me up if I make this decision? Right now, as it is, policing in America we're on pins and needles, everybody, when it comes to the police. We're not allowing them to be police anymore. The same thing with the border agents. They're so afraid. Right now, the gag order, they better not dare talk to any media. And so that's not the way that we want our border agents to function.
No, and I live near Detroit, and we have a border in Detroit with Canada, Windsor, and another border with Sarnia in Canada, and then we have a third border in the Upper Peninsula with Canada. So we have 3 places where we have bridges that go across into another country, and every one of those ports of entry, there are going to be lines miles long. You could wait in line for an hour and a half to get across our border because you have to go through the proper security, and they have dogs that are sniffing the cars. I mean, it's incredible. You really have to have proper identification, and you have to be able to answer the border agents' questions. But on the southern border, it's basically a free for all. I mean, these videos prove it, that of you standing in the middle of the river. I mean, nobody's around. There are no border agents. How can we have such tight security on the northern borders, and then our southern borders are basically wide open? It makes zero sense.
And also, when it comes to the port of entries, right now, the Biden administration keeps on saying that the border is closed, that the border is secure. No, it's not closed, not secure. What they're talking about is that the legal visa holder that I think should be allowed to come over is not being allowed to come over. These are visa holders that have been checked, that have gone through the check, that come over to shop, that come over to visit family, that come over to part of the everyday life of the border. These are border crossers, we refer to them as border crossers. they're not allowed to come over right now. It's closed for them. But if you're illegal, it's open for you. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. A lot of the border towns are suffering because the businesses have shut down because a lot of the shopping from the Mexican nationals that come over to the border to shop, and that is non-existing now from the good people, the ones that we do want them to come over and visit with the B1, B2 visa, visit for a few days and then go back. No, they can't come over. But if you pay $4,000 to the cartel, you can.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. I mean, we are living, like Joe, you nailed it. We're in such an upside down world right now with a two-tiered justice system where Black Lives Matter and Antifa there are no repercussions for their actions. And yet we've got a Congress whose, their main priority is to form a 9/11 style commission to make sure that anybody who was in the Capitol or on the Capitol steps or anywhere near the Capitol, even if they were let in by the Capitol Police, that they're sufficiently punished and that we get to the bottom of it, and then we've got these wide open borders with MS-13 and drug dealers and the cartels that are taking over, our border, and they just, it's like, it's not even happening. It's crazy. I feel like I'm living in a world like they're asking us to just ignore what we see and listen to what they're telling us. And that's what's really happening. Right. I mean,
right.
Joe, you asked what do we do? I've been pushing something as simple as get involved in your community. Listen, local politics, if they were ever important, they're important as ever now. Go to a local city council meeting. Go to your county commissioners meeting. Go to a school board meeting. Look at what they're doing with critical race theory right now in our communities. My town here in Texas has won a big victory against critical race theory and indoctrination of our kids from the left. This is happening everywhere, but we need to step up and become a member of our community. We need to step up and be aware. That's a good step. How about be aware and know what's going on? Because let me tell you, these individuals that are coming in illegally are coming to your town. Everywhere in this country. It's not just in the border towns. You will be the sheriff's departments, the police chiefs. They will be affected with crime. They will be affected with our school systems. Our school boards will have to make decisions. Guess what? Are they going to cite the side of the illegal alien or your U.S. citizen kid? When you get 300 illegal aliens all of a sudden in the school system, who are they? A lot of them are illiterate. They can't read or write Spanish. So. We want them to assimilate from one day to the next. These are real world problems and sustainability issues that are going to be faced in a lot of communities around our country. The healthcare system, they don't have vaccinations. Forget COVID. That's that's a plus. That's a given. They're bringing that already. But they're bringing a lot of other issues that we haven't seen here in this country in a long time because we've been vaccinated. Because we have that in our as part of our culture, as part of our schooling, as part of the way we grow up. They don't have that in Guatemala and Honduras, and so these kids have, and the adults have a lot of health issues attached to them. That's going to put a strain in our healthcare system. You will see the impact, and the best way for you is to make sure you know who you have there in your local community as elected officials. Because let me tell you, you see how much power they have. They have a lot of power. And they get to decide whether you get to walk into a business, whether you wear a mask, whether you go to school, your kid goes to school. All those issues are going to matter, and they're going to make decisions when these individuals get to your hometown. So you get involved and get involved now.
Yeah, thanks.
Great point. So Victor, we really thank you for coming on. I'll be writing about your appearance and including the 2 videos that we showed, and then you sent me a couple additional videos that we'll include as well of the ladders that they were using to try to get across the border, and then also a video that you shared with me, an actual video showing the illegals crossing the border.
That's right.
At night. Incredible. They're just all incredible. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate, and I'm sure Joe and the rest of America appreciate the good work that you're doing, because we don't have honest journalists anymore. If we did, they would be on the border covering these things that you're covering. But we don't have honest journalism anymore. We have Democrat Party journalists, and they're not going to show us what's really happening down there. So to the bottom of my heart, I appreciate your bravery going down there, because it's you're in a dangerous area. I mean, you've already experienced what it's like to be a victim of the drug cartels, and just going down there, you're putting your own life at risk. And we appreciate it so that you can expose what's really happening down there for the rest of Americans who are only seeing what the media wants us to see.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you, and thank you again for the opportunity to let me share these videos. And I will continue if next time I go to the border or other news that I have that as I go around the country speaking at these events and trying to do the same thing, is just wake people up and share the story and bring the awareness throughout as many places as I can.
Great. And thanks, Joe, for joining us today. We really appreciate you pitching in.
It was an honor. Yeah, it was an honor. Thanks.
Yeah. And for everybody that's watching, Victor's book, Agent Under Fire, is available at Amazon. And are there any other places besides Amazon where people can pick up a copy of your book, Victor?
They could go to, I have the links at agentunderfirebook.com. I have the link for Amazon, for barnesandnoble.com, or if you want to go straight through my publisher, Liberty Hill, you could do that as well. And so agentunderfirebook.com.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
And thanks again to Mike Lindell for sponsoring our podcast. And for the people that are watching, please remember to purchase his products to help support the good work that he's doing. And when you do that, you also support the work that Gateway Pundit 100% Fed Up are doing. Remember to put in the 100 GP code to get up to 66% off your MyPillow products. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98.